one of those monumental speeches that was an unforgettable moment in Australian TV.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man.
And why this speech becomes impactful if you can use your words to visualize what you're trying to say. Like
Not now, not ever.
examples throughout, preparation, bang, bang, I've brought the receipt.
Position says, but now there's an assumption that this is a bad thing.
It immediately gives you a second of, oh,
Women in public life and in Australian society, because we are entitled to a better standard than this.
all right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are rocking and rolling and live. Thank you for joining us. What I want to start with is it is wild that the expression of words, a powerful speech given at the right time under the fabric of something brewing societally under the surface and shared in front of an audience can have such an outrageous impact that there is really nothing that compares in human history. You can look back and think of some of the most amazing speeches that have had incredible transformative impact and made pivotal, significant change. And the reason I give you that pretext is today I want to try and analyze, being in Australia, what was an impactful speech and what can we take away from such an impactful speech that we can probably utilize for our own smaller goals, maybe even more lofty goals. Now, enough vagueness. The speech I'm talking about is a speech given by Australia's first and only female Prime Minister, Julia Gillard, back in 2012. And the speech was titled the speech around misogyny and defending feminism. Now, I don't give a fuck about anything political. It's got nothing to do with any of that. But this is one of those monumental speeches that was an unforgettable moment in Australian TV. And I think there are some amazing things that I've learned from watching this speech. This speech has been studied in schools, taught in universities, essays written on it, and even communication courses worldwide have leaned on some of the nuances of this speech and how you can use it for relating to moments where you have to get up and make change or communicate something that requires a level of impact. Enough pretext. If you have no idea who I am, my name is Jasky. I'm Australia's #1 street interviewer. I love to break down the details of what makes great communication skills great, and hopefully we can all borrow from it. Enough rambling, let's get on with it. So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to play it a little bit so you can hear. There we go. This is the speech right here. Let me roll it for a short bit, then I'll jump back in.
Speaker, and I rise to oppose the motion moved by the Leader of the Opposition. And in so doing, I say to the Leader of the Opposition, I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not.
Okay, I've paused it there, and let me just give a little bit of context. Maybe that's a good place to start. The woman, if you don't know, in question, in picture, the one we're talking about, this lady here, Julia Gillard, first only female Prime Minister, and the man she is targeting in this speech, this gentleman here, Tony Abbott, the Speedo wearing, raw onion eating, marathon running, some people would call meathead, who kept accusing her party of sexism around gendered language. And she's basically gone on the attack and said that it's hypocrisy because of the things that he said in the past. He has no right to be saying this. And why this speech becomes impactful is this gathering here. Now, I don't know anything about politics, so I wouldn't even know how to put this in the right context. It is essentially like a general routine parliamentary procedural thing, right? It's not anything important where they didn't come in there to make this speech. Now, so this wasn't one of those moments where a monumental big speech was going to be delivered and everyone was ready psychologically for this speech to be delivered. And the reason it had the impact was it was just one of those boring, everyday, general sort of moments where people are catching up to discuss some policy. And the unexpected turn of events where she delivered this powerful monologue, essentially, and an attack on on the opposition party is what made it so powerful. So if you think of it like your algorithm, you're scrolling. What gets your attention? If your algorithm is consistently, like mine, generating cricket images, uh, uh, cricket memes, and whatever, you're just scrolling through a bunch of sports, and then something that's unexpected in that stream of of content comes up. It immediately gives you a second of, oh, this is something I should probably pay attention to. This is something that's interesting that I want to that I should give my attention to here. It was a trigger. It was an unexpected. It wasn't the moment that asked for this speech. It was a moment that made this speech, right? And that's why it landed so hard. No one was emotionally prepared for it. That's the context of it. But I think the thing you got to see from the get go, which is really what I want to showcase, and probably the most important thing when it comes to delivering something impactful or even strategically getting the best outcome in your communication, that I have learned, is it is less about the words. We all know this. It's less about the words. It's less about what you say. It's less about all that kind of stuff. It is a lot more about the other stuff. And the other stuff, I don't mean it to be vague. There are specifics to it. There's body language, there's tonality, there's volume, there is punctuation, articulation, there is melody in all of it, right? And once that is stacked, what actually comes out in terms of words is probably the least most important thing. So if you notice here, when she begins this speech, she begins this with a very, very neutral posture, but a posture which is not signifying aggression, nor is it signifying a lowering of status. So the way this is done, which also helps her deliver something that is going to be in a moment of tension. There is tension here. No one's expecting this. She's going out on a limb by going on the attack, which is something I've tried to train a lot. And it is very important when you're trying to have a commanding position to deliver something, is stillness. And the neutral posture is essentially resting a book on your head, keeping your neck straight, and having everything as neutral as possible, but shoulders back and wide, and then being able to walk around the room while balancing the book on your head. Sounds like one of the most fucking stupidest activities, but the reason what it allows you to do is twofold. One is you're not uh, intuitively, a lot of people hunch, because when you're tense, you bring your posture, you bring yourself into a little bit of a protective state, right? Because you're worried. So by practicing it, routine practice makes the delivery automatic. So by practicing it, she's starting in a position of some level of command, but not aggression. Outrightly sticking your chest out like a weirdo with your shoulders back is, especially for a female, is signifying something completely different and in contrast to what she's trying to achieve. So this is trained. This is not just by happenstance that she has her body language in control. Someone who has not gone through the rigor of knowing that stillness is the key to composure. Stillness is important in delivering impact, right? If you're fidgeting and your hands are all over the place, you'll see in this entire scrub of this video, she's within the Goldilocks zone, which is hands within the confines of your body, no flipping your hands up top and flailing them around everywhere. That signifies a lack of control. So, and very, very little movement. And she punctuates it when there is a point being delivered. It is very well trained, and that is one of the foundational keys that made this speech as powerful as it was. Your body language does a lot more talking than the words do. Okay, let me play the start again. So we've gone through the body languages. You'll see it's very important, very limited movement of hands, a very, very neutral posture. The neck is always kept very straight and not flapping around, not looking like the floating man outside of the car yard kind of situation. And she is assuming a posture of neutrality, not aggression and not submission.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. I will not. And the government will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. Not now, not ever.
So a very important part here is she sets the foundation of what she's going to say with complete assertion. It is direct. There is no room for misinterpreting what she's about to say. And it is done, it's cold anger, not hot emotion. Now, I hope the differentiation there makes sense. And in reverse, you will realize that the response is made it even more powerful. It's the ridiculous smirk, the responding to something like, this is just stupidity. What the fuck is she talking about? What an idiot. That has made it even more powerful. And because it is disciplined anger that is coming from the speakers, it comes across, and that's what's very important about delivering a very powerful speech, is when there is no room and you're providing nothing but your blinkers on, that this is the message and the only message I'm going to deliver, and I'm delivering it with complete conviction. That disciplined anger indicates I have thought about this. It's not me freestyling out of my ass, okay? And so she starts the speech by drawing the line very clearly.
I will not be lectured about sexism and misogyny by this man. Not now, not ever. The Leader of the Opposition says that people who hold sexist views and who are misogynists are not appropriate for high office.
Now, let's not worry about the wording here. The wording is, of course, important. She has delivered some very important messaging in this speech. But I'm trying to give you the main points of what makes this speech very powerful. Now, let me just go back. There's body language. She's been very clear about what she's going to say. There's no confusion around the message that's going to be delivered. There is the breaking the normal patterns of what people were expecting here. This was going to be your eyes rolling in the back of your head. I'm half asleep, but I'm listening because there's some routine parliamentary boring BS piece of shit that's going to happen. I'm not really that interested in this stream events that are about to occur. She interrupted that pattern by using this as a moment to deliver something that was meaningful to her. So those three things already elevated to where it became this very, very important speech. But what you'll notice, now let me play it back. Well, I hope you notice.
The Leader of the Opposition says that people who hold sexist views and who are misogynists are not appropriate for high office.
Listen to all the interruptions. So her speaking has just started. Now, imagine you're given a period of time that you're allowed to continue talking before someone else has to jump on. But the amount of interruptions that have come in from the get-go is in parallel to what I normally notice when you do, say, stand-up comedy. That's the best parallel I can draw, is the job of a heckler. Everyone's familiar. I don't know why everyone's familiar, but everyone is familiar with hecklers in stand-up comedy. But the reason I bring that up is normally hecklers and people shouting out is to try and test the person who is talking at the time. It's like a little bit of a, when you're starting something, they want to see how much callus you have, how much ability to withstand a little bit of, a little bit of a jab coming your way. Are you able to withstand and still persist with what you're trying to say? And what you'll notice throughout the speech, it starts, the hecklers are yelling. She does not allow them. One, she doesn't address them. Two, she does not allow them to derail what she's about to say. She continues on the freight train of this discipline, anger, and delivery of a very important message without veering off topic. Because what hecklers want to try and do is just test you. They're here to see, okay, this is like a little bit of a hazing phase. Are you going to respond to us interrupting? Is it going to throw you off track? And it does not, right? She continues on. She's not getting emotional. She's not yelling back at anyone, like, shut up, let me talk. She's not doing that. Because then there is a slight win, right? Now, this is not about how to handle, interruptions. The main point is it is a test that you will sometimes see when you are breaking patterns and you're saying something. It could be in a boardroom. It could be when you're delivering a very personal speech. You've got to confront an uncomfortable topic. You've been posed a tense question and you've got to respond. There's going to be inbound to try and break you up here. It's going to be little murmurs. Someone's going to try and say something. Someone is maybe going to try and yell something, or someone is going to indirectly talk to someone else just to see if they can throw you off. And in that moment, it is about continuing. There will be tension in any impactful moment that you are trying, impactful speech or moment you are trying to deliver. It's not going to be without tension.
Repulsive double standards, repulsive double standards when it comes to misogyny and sexism. He has said, and I quote, in a discussion about women being underrepresented in institutions of power in Australia, the interviewer was a man called Stavros. The Leader of the Opposition says, if it's true, Stavros, that men have more power, generally speaking, than women, is that a bad thing? And then a discussion ensues and another person being interviewed says, I want my daughter to have as much opportunity as my son. To which the Leader of the Opposition says, yeah, I completely agree, but what if men are by physiology or temperament more adapted to exercise authority or to issue command? Then ensues another discussion about women's role in modern society, and the other person participating in the discussion says, I think it's very hard to deny that there is an underrepresentation of women, to which the Leader of the Opposition says, but now there's an assumption that this is a bad thing. This is the man from whom we're supposed to take lectures about sexism.
So what you'll see there is what we call she brought the receipts. And you can't really deliver such a powerful, impactful speech or even have any sort of significant change take place unless you are prepared, right? Preparation, can't just freestyle it. You can't go in there and just hope something comes to your mind. You've got to be prepared. And preparation made this impactful speech that it was, right? So she knew coming in that she was going to put this man on the spot because there was a lot of heat coming from the opposition towards her party and her in particular, because she's a woman and she's not able to do X, Y, and Z because women are whatever. This is 2012, so there was a lot of sexism in the political world at that time. So she needed to come in prepared with some points that would be an ultimate torching and an ultimate burn of the Leader of the Opposition. And it wasn't just a single point that she used one example to deliver that message. It was by stacking examples, not by just one knockout line, not this amazing punchline that just summated it all beautifully. It is, she started by saying, I will not be lectured. And then there was stacked examples which created inescapability, right? One accusation can be denied, a pattern cannot. So she did not swing once. She buried him under example after example after example, which all of them are quotes of things that he has said that created death by accumulation. So the takeaway there is be fucking prepared. Be really well prepared. If you are going in with enough in your arsenal and weapons in your arsenal, and you've got that in your pocket, when you deliver something with the factual evidence, with the right amount of emotion, and it is timely, that's your magic. And another thing that I think worth mentioning, and it's not pinpointing anything about this actual speech, is you've got to also understand there is a lot of luck in timing. And it can be serendipitous luck, which is unplanned luck and it just happens. Or it can be you can hear the grassroots simmer of certain conversations that are not reaching the mainstream. And this was happening at that point. She knew if she can tap into that, draw that boundary, that you are speaking for a lot of the unspoken parts of society. You are getting all the the grassroots waves to rise by communicating it, which a lot of people are feeling. And then also is to do what is also unexpected. Here, women in power are normally socially conditioned, especially in that time, to avoid social confrontation. It is smile, joke, be likable, extend an olive branch. She did none of those fucking things. She went straight for it, and it broke the rule of the time, and again further spoke about the rising narrative of, yeah, women can also do this. And she showcased it by leading by example.
I am offended by their content. I'm offended by their content because I am always offended by sexism. I'm offended by their content because I'm always offended by statements that are anti-women. I'm offended by those things in the same way that I have been offended by things that the Leader of the Opposition has said, and no doubt will continue to say in the future, because if this today was an exhibition of his new feminine side, well, I don't think we've got much to look forward to in terms of change conduct. I am offended by those text messages.
What's great about that part is she uses the I and the you very, very strategically. I, bringing it back to yourself. You are speaking about yourself. You're not trying to speak about somebody else. For example, how to make $1 billion is very different to how I made $1 billion, right? I'm using $1 billion as the most repulsive example. But there is a slight difference about you sharing your experience, your knowledge, your beliefs, as opposed to trying to impart them upon others. But she's drawing a clear line between I am offended by these things, and you are the one that needs to have a level of accountability. Using the I and the you strategically, she created the enemy in that speech. Not that it wasn't clear anyway. Like in this case, it was very clear. But sometimes having the enemy allows those who also feel this either esoteric or vague enemy to be specified. It doesn't have to be a person, but it can be a type of identity. And the opposing identity can then have greater relatability to your speech. And she does use a lot of visual language, which is very, very important. If you can use your words to visualize what you're trying to say, like one of the lines, he's not going to learn from any messages we give him. He is going to learn if we put a mirror in front of him. Now that is such visual language which has incredible impact, because visually a mirror in front of a person already shows that they need to reflect, right? But also it is a powerful image in your mind that you'll remember. You want to create those visual moments that you'll remember. All right, let's play the rest, and that's
whenever people make up their minds about those questions. What I won't stand for, what I will never stand for, is the Leader of the Opposition coming into this place and peddling a double standard.
Look at the body language. I just paused it there. The body language has remained perfect throughout. Perfect. It is poised. It is commanding without being confronting. It is also punctuated at times by the slight movement when she is articulating a very important point. Something I didn't mention, which I've realized here, is how do you use your hands in those moments? And she isn't using fingers by pointing, because that's really weird. It's antagonizing. It's kind of confronting. Typically, people will showcase palms out. When you showcase your palms out, it is indicating you're being transparent. It is a very strategic way to disarm someone, because evolutionarily we are always worrying about if somebody's got some shit in their palms. So she has open palms, but what she's doing with her hands is, I don't know if this is like a technique that a lot of politicians use, but you will see them. They do this thing. It's like the binocular fingers, and it's essentially drawing a circle with your index finger and your thumb. And what it does is, it's not as confronting as a point. It also, there's a little bit of force that you can exert onto your finger, which allows you to deliver the point a little bit more powerfully, because you are actually putting a little bit of force in. So like mind-body connection allows what your body is doing to your mind to actually feel like this is going to be a little bit more impactful. So you are doing that. And also at the same time, it is slightly palms out. So it is giving you a level of transparency, right? As opposed to this, when you're pointing, your palms are concealed, or whatever. You're not gonna do that. Like you're not serving them food or something, or like letting them drink water from the palm of your hands. That's weird. So this is still kind of palms open, but with a little bit of assertiveness, or like a little bit of strong punctuation on the particular points.
The kind of double standards and political game playing imposed by the Leader of the Opposition. Now looking at his watch, because apparently a woman's spoken too long. I've had him yell at me to shut up in the past, but I will take the remaining seconds of my speaking time to say to the Leader of the Opposition, I think the best course for him is to reflect.
Probably like 15 minutes into that speech, and then look at this. There's a little bit of a smile because she delivered a incredible joke at the end, which summarized the whole thing so succinctly. That's why it's such a beautiful speech. Passion, clear point up front, examples throughout, preparation, bang, bang. I've brought the receipts. I know what I'm talking about. Here's the things you've said, and it makes you look like a fucking idiot. Then going into more of an onslaught around what we should expect someone in this position to be. It summarized the point really well, but allowed everyone to now have another moment which they will remember that speech for. Right? If you can create that incredible punchline or a joke which makes people laugh, so yes, it does diffuse tension, but also it is so memorable because you summarize the whole thing as this, again, a targeted joke at the person. Now, we don't even know if he was doing that. I don't even know if he was looking at his watch saying, oh, it's fucking gone too long. They probably look at it all the time, but amazing. How good. And now this part I just want to play to showcase how she ends the speech, because start and end, two most important parts of the speech.
Should think seriously about the role of women in public life and in Australian society, because we are entitled to a better standard than this.
So again, ended with a kind of a mic drop. The same point at the start. I will not. This is not the role model for behaving appropriately when it comes to genders. And then at the end, we should have better standards than this man. So, and it wasn't ended like wrapped up neatly. I want to seek some applause. We're going to conduct with some hope, or I'm giving you some amazing highfalutin lecturing that she's trying to avoid. It just ends with this unresolved ending, but it's like a forced reflection because you end it, and then that's it. She just dropped it, walked away, and the way it was ended, for obviously the word was used to reflect, but it allows people to reflect. There was no resolution. She didn't try it. Ended with some, this is what I want the resolution to be. I have mapped it out for you, and it's ending on this one cliffhanger moment where I've said the same message at the top, same message at the end, and I want to leave it in the ball is in your court to reflect. Great ending, right? Because most people would try and end it with a resolution. What I want to happen is this, maybe we should try this thing. We should try to, like, and I believe Parliament should, all that stuff achieves less of a positive outcome. So I know I've shared a lot of different things there. I've watched this speech a number of times. It is an art form. It is someone who's had an incredible amount of training and has incredible amount of poise in tense situations. All of that requires training, right? And if you do want the training, jump on the website. We can help you with that training. That's jaskysingh.com for high stakes communications. Again, not a plug. If you want it, you can get that training one-on-one by myself, or there's just an AI coach you can download and plug in your problems, and you get those solutions and jump on group calls, and happy days. We can provide that level of training. But a showcase is someone who has had that, the reps, the training, the comfort in those moments, which is done through simulation. You can't just do that in a mirror. You need to put yourself in more tense situations than you are actually going to be experiencing when you are performing. So practice needs to be more intense than performance. And aside from all the tips and tricks that you can provide to make a great speech, what made it unforgettable wasn't volume, insult, drama, it was control. When you speak with absolute composure while delivering absolute condemnation, people listen. Now, because it doesn't feel emotional, it feels final. The most powerful confrontations, you don't have to be loud. Loud is stupid. Loud does not achieve anything powerful. They have to be calm, precise, prepared, and timely, that they are impossible to dismiss. So I hope that was valuable. Take care and see you on the next one.